Martin, start of a new campaign.
Mhm.
Celtic started off with a win, narrowly, but a win nonetheless. What did you make of the opening gambit of Celtic this season?
Well, opening game, I think the most important thing is obviously winning the match. It came very, very late. They can play much better, naturally, but they now opened up a 2-point gap. So, in the scheme of things, that might be big. I've always said it before, and I suppose it's worth repeating. I think for Celtic to be strong this season, need a strong Rangers side, and that might happen this season. Certainly, European games for Rangers have been terrific. I heard the comments from the manager after the Motherwell debacle, and but it's early. It's early. But what you don't want is if I can compare and contrast my opening time here, got lucky in the sense that we won late in our first game at Dundee United. Jesus, 25 years ago, and got that wee bit of luck. And so by the time that we came to the Rangers game, we had won our matches, particularly a tough game at Hearts. So the most important thing is obviously winning the games, but it could be an interesting season, you know.
The major gripe, I think, at the moment with supporters is the lack of transfer activity, especially in that forward area. Can you understand why the fans are maybe getting a little bit anxious, especially when they look across the city and see that Rangers are spending? Right,
okay. Well, that anxiety is nothing new. You know, it was there in my time. Each season was the same, and I do remember. I remember Celtic fans complaining about this is before my time, saying that why should they be signing a 33-year-old player in Moravcik who's just turned out to be one of the best, and but no, there's always a bit of anxiety. Celtic, and I think particularly the great European run last season, they maybe they'd be expecting a bit more, but some players come in at a time last season. Do you remember? Just when everybody thought, oh, nothing's going to happen, and it did, and it worked out fine. So no, Brendan has been in this position before, and I think he'll deal with it. But like if he's anything like me, he'll be wanting the players in, you know.
Especially with the Champions League just around the corner.
Absolutely, yeah.
They've got their possible opponents now, but that's only in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, obviously, better to get those players in and bed them in ahead of it.
Of course.
No,
absolutely right. Yeah, no question about that. There, you want to work with players because essentially you don't really, until you get them, until you start working with them, you don't really know. You're hoping that what you think you saw in a player is going to work out. Doesn't necessarily go that way. So yeah, the sooner they get the players in, the better.
Brendan's obviously down to the final year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's made noises about the fact that he maybe feels they're not doing business quickly enough this summer so far. Could that have an effect, do you think, potentially on whether he decides he wants to stay at the club?
Funnily enough, I was going to ask you what is the view. I mean, I'm hearing it from afar. I don't think it's anything particularly new, in the sense that if I can compare or contrast my time there, Dermot was the one that I was really dealing with, and I never felt it was a big issue really in terms of signing contracts, you know, and if for instance Dermot wanted you to stay at the football club, he'll make that known, and naturally it has to be a two-way thing if you want to stay as well too, and that was never a problem. I don't know what's in Brendan's head, and if you're saying he's making a bit of noise about that, is that what he's saying?
Well, he said essentially that he's not at Celtic to just maintain, he wants to push them forward,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially kind of intimated that he needs that ambition from the board as well.
Right.
The fact that they've not spent the money so far this summer,
Mm-hmm.
It could be construed that maybe he's
Right.
asking the board to back him and
Yeah.
follow that vision with him.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
It's just so
No.
Would that backing from the board, would that be a big signal to him that they want him to stay and that he feels?
Oh, of course, yeah. You know, I see it from both sides. As a manager, I used to wanted players, and I wanted them, as you say, I wanted them quickly. I wanted them yesterday. I wanted those things. And board are always saying, well, managers always want these things. But it's true. I think there's certainly an element of what you're saying in it, because the season last year. Now you do want to progress, and to a certain extent, anything, I suppose, if you don't make it through to the group stages of the Champions League, that might be deemed a falling back on the previous season. Now, it worked out brilliantly. I've said this before. I think the format really suited Celtic at this particular time, and playing against sides, Slovan Bratislava, wasn't it, and Young Boys. So you're able to get points on the board. I don't know, but yeah, he'll want to progress. He'll want to push on. He'll want to, and he certainly won't want to. He won't want to regress.
Martin, Luke McCown was the match winner on Saturday, albeit a deflected goal. 27-year-old who's kind of worked his way up from Ayr United and then Dundee and then to Celtic. He's probably having more and more of a stamp in the Celtic team as time goes on. I wonder just how much he's on your radar and how much do you think of him as a player?
Well, again, I wouldn't have seen I wouldn't have seen him live a great deal of times. I've obviously seen it in television, but as you say, you have to commend him for working his way through, not giving up, making and reaching and getting into Celtic's first team. I think, I suppose it won't really matter what I think, but it's what the manager thinks of him. But he definitely seems as if he's going to play a more significant part this season. And if that's the case, then well done him. Now, what you're looking for is this big improvement again on last season, if it's at all possible. Yeah, the league is very, very important. Of course, you need to win that. But secondly, I think, as I've said before, Celtic are based now on European matches this was way back from 1967, so it should be. And in terms of him playing in those type of games, they're great for him. Obviously, Celtic have to win them.
You've harked back to your time as Celtic manager.
I didn't mean to, I've just kind of, honestly, sorry. I genuinely didn't mean to. It's the last thing, things were great in my day,
Yeah. But you've referred back to that a couple of times, and therefore, can you give us an insight of what it's like as to when you've had a successful season, you won a few league titles, you won Scottish Cups and the League Cup, and you've mentioned Brendan Rodgers has been in this position before. What's it like as a Celtic manager when you get to the start of a new season and you almost have to get yourself going again? And in some ways you might think that should take care of itself, but when you're expected just to win everything, what is that like?
I don't think that should be a problem, really. You've had a bit of a summer. You've had a time to consider what happened. Really great season last year, bit of disappointment at the end, obviously, losing the cup final. But we're just ready to go again. Exactly. I think they've had some time down in Portugal as well too, so it's nice, And when you've had a bit of success, and one of our seasons, pre-season, we went to America. We played out in Seattle. We went to Philadelphia. Played Manchester United. And honestly, it's a lovely feeling to know that there's no pressure on. It's not as if it was my first year in the year 2000 when I didn't really know the players. I told Moravcik he wouldn't get into my set if he couldn't run around a bit, and he just said, "I don't run around." He said, "I just play the game," and I couldn't get it more wrong. So you're trying to get to know your players at that time. But when you do know the players, then pre-season is actually a really nice feeling because it's coming around in the start of the season and you're back into it. So I don't see that as a problem at all for the manager. What, as you were just saying, what he needs is that he'll want to strengthen the side.
And finally from me, I saw one fan writer on the BBC's website saying that on Sunday, there seemed to be a distinct lack of electricity in the stadium. Perhaps the Brendan Rodgers contract situation, perhaps the lack of signings, perhaps the fact they lost the Scottish Cup at the end of last season. Do you expect that electricity, if there is a lack of it, to come back soon? I
think it's just the opening day, the unfurling of the flag, that type of stuff, and you get up for the game, and then after 15 or 20 minutes, maybe something's not happening in the park, and it can go flat. European nights and Old Firm games. Am I allowed to say Old Firm? I'm old school. Still allowed to say that, you know. Graham will come in and tell you that it's not two different clubs. But anyway, there were games where flat and it's not up to the crowd, it's up to the players to get that atmosphere going. So no, the late win, if I'm Brendan, I'm thinking, I'm delighted. You know, I'm absolutely delighted. Across the road the day before, they've dropped points. We've won the game. We're a couple of points ahead. I know it's opening game. We can play much, much better. Flat atmospheres at Celtic, it can happen. And it's happened in my time as well too, you know. So, no, I think that, getting back to your point, I think it's maybe the fans' concern about trying to get the team a few more players in, and the quicker the better.
Are you expecting Idah to find his feet at Celtic, because he did score 20 goals last season, but there has been quite a bit of criticism about his all-round game and whether he has what it takes to be that number 9 in the absence of Kyogo to be the main man for Celtic. Do you think he's capable of doing that going forward?
Well, he's. I mean, obviously there was when he came to the football club. I think, didn't he come initially on loan from Norwich? You know, and people were thinking, well, you've gone from Norwich, where you weren't even a regular in that side, to step in at Celtic. So he's had a bit of a step to make, and he seems to have done it reasonably well. I think that personally, I think that he can improve. He's strong. I think, like anything else, to quote my old manager Brian Clough way back 100 years ago, he was saying the centre forwards, main job is to get hold of the ball. You've got to get hold of it. You've got to protect the ball as much as anything else, and don't run away from it. So, but he'll be learning all the time, and he'll have a good tutor in Brendan from that viewpoint. Whether he goes to the heights that Celtic expect of him would be entirely up to him.
From what you've seen in this Celtic squad so far, is there any particular areas for you that you feel they do need to still strengthen in over the window?
Well, why didn't I tell you that off air? So, right, okay, so the last thing I want, as a manager myself, is somebody coming in and telling me what I should do about I don't care whether he was a next manager or whatever the case may be, about where he should improve the team. The manager will know where to improve the team, and that, and yes. So off air, we'll go for a cup of tea, and then I'll let you know.
Well, when you're in those private quarters down behind the scenes, and
I'll give you a shout.
right. Well,
No, I won't. I'll just do it for the coffee.
Well, when you're in those private quarters with the likes of the board or when you're trying to sell that vision to get that wee bit of extra funding, what do you need to do as a manager to fully convince to go and spend another?
But I don't think that this is anything really new. I don't think that it's not as if Brendan's just arriving at the football club for his first season or anything. He knows that, and the board will know. This is it, and there has to be mutual ambition at the football club, and I'm quite sure it's there. I'm very hopeful that things will happen, and before, and please, this is not to sound sycophantic, but eventually my conversations with Dermot way back at that time was that if we could afford something or afford a player, he'll do everything in his power to try and get him in at the football club, and so that's it. I'm sure that Brendan has outlined a number of people he would like at the football club. I know these days now you have like choice A, choice B, and choice C. I've never really thought that. I looked at it like that. I used to think of, well, if I don't get choice A, then what's the point in having B? That was my view, and which was always good news for the board, because I didn't get A and didn't get B either. But anyway, overall, I think it's a mutual ambition, and I think that those conversations that you're asking me about, I think that Brendan will, I'm sure, will already had them.